we fall in love because we love this person.
True.
We love this person's values. We
Until
love,
you live with them, and then
and then it becomes a bit much. Like, maybe can you tone it
like
down
a
a
lot.
bit?
Hello, Wisdom and Wellness family. Welcome to the cozy edition of this month's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Tennis Rusk. Guys, I'm a huge fan of tennis biscuits. And when I found out that Tennis Biscuits has come together to bring us rusks, I was like, this is some mind-blowing stuff. So these are officially available at all stores. Go get yourself some. They are absolutely amazing. As a rusk fan and a Tennis Biscuit fan, I am in heaven. And Brendan and I are going to be enjoying with some coffee. Oh, you don't dip yours, do you? I always dip mine.
I like the crunch.
Brendan likes his crunchy. I like mine dipped. Cheers. Let's get into today's conversation. We are talking about integrating family traditions.
Yeah.
It's been, how long are we together now? Almost 7 years?
Almost 7 years. Well, we've been together almost 9 years, but
Yeah.
we've been married for almost 7
Almost
years.
9 years.
Almost 10.
No, I wasn't there. 8 years.
We started 2014, no? 2015. 2015, sorry.
I'm not the one.
I'm
You
so
started
sorry.
in 2014.
It feels like it's
with.
been long.
I wanted to read something before we get started on the conversation.
Okay.
And this is a definition that just I found about family culture. Culture, tradition. We look at it as similar things, right? Family culture is the combination of your family's habits, traditions, purpose, values, beliefs, and choices. It is often impacted by experiences, personalities, and external influences.
Okay.
So what does it mean for you to have in fact, what does it mean, the integrating of family traditions?
For me, it means building a new tradition and culture, essentially. I think when you get married, what you don't realize is that, well, you realize it, but you don't know what it means. It's that your life's going to change. And it's going to change drastically. And you're going to have to be, you become a new person. So there's things that you used to do that you grow up doing because of the family that you're in. And so integrating means, how do we then take both of our upbringing and our traditions and create a new tradition using parts of those traditions?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a bring your own bride type of thing.
Bring in pride.
Yeah, like you'll bring the force, I'll bring the firelighter, and like we'll create something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm two ways about it. One, I think on a practical level, it's a good idea.
what's a good idea? To integrate.
But two, the Bible speaks about leave and cleave.
Yeah.
And part of that leave and cleave, I think most of us think of it on a just leave your parents' house and build your own house. But I look at it as leave everything you've known, that's why I say that the first one makes sense on a practical level, right? But on what? But for me, we should essentially say, okay, this is what we did at home. This is what you did at home. But now that we're starting our new home, what are we doing? Like,
But
what
that's
are these?
exactly what I said.
But you said you bring your own chops and bring your own.
Well, you're building from something. If we're saying what are we doing, also we're not just saying it's a blank slate.
Yeah.
No, it's saying what do we like about what do you think was essential about what you guys were doing? What do I think was essential? And how can we then bring that to this new thing, you know? And also, if we're going to quote the Bible, it also says the two shall become one.
Okay.
And you know, I don't want to get preachy, but someone once said that it's not two halves that become one, it's two wholes that become one. So it is important that I think you keep a part of who you are. Even as we are building something new, I think we fall in love because we love this person.
True.
We love this person's values.
Until you live with them, and then
and then it becomes a bit much. Like, maybe can you tone it
like a
down a
lot.
bit? But yeah, we fall in love with a person because of that, because of the history in who they are and how firm they are in what they believe.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we should completely disregard that. I think we should use some of that and be like, oh, okay, this broccoli thing that you're bringing is quite something. Like it's making me feel better. let's keep that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what is the one tradition or culture that you saw in me that you fell in love with? And then as you lived with me, like 7 years later, it's like, oh, we can do without that.
Sure. There's so many. How do I pick? No, I'm joking. I know there's something. Let me see.
That like you were like, oh my gosh, women are my dreams. And then now it's
I think
like
being an early riser. Being an early riser is like, it's cute. Like when you're dating someone, you're like, oh wow, she's so determined, wow, disciplined. But maso vusamina. It's like, what are we doing? You know, like, but yeah, I think being an early riser, being a healthy eater, that's a tough one. Like being a healthy eater is tough because I think we all aspire to eat healthy.
yeah.
But it's also to what level, like how far are we taking this thing? And you like a all or nothing person.
Well, that's kind of how I grew up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. Like when you have someone like that who's backing you in your own thing, like a all or nothing person, that's the person you want to have in your corner.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's really hard,
Yeah.
then it's like it becomes challenging. Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
Now, what about you? What do you think is a thing that you thought I did that was pretty cool, and then you got married to me and you're like, actually,
I actually thought about it. I don't know if it counts as traditional or culture.
yeah.
But you're very like laid back, like trust the process,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Very zen.
yeah, very zen, very trust the process, very I'll do it when I'm inspired.
Needs to come to me.
It needs to come to me. And I think at that time, especially when we did fall in love, I needed that. When I was letting go of my chosen career path and I was leaning more into the creative side, and I was like, here's this guy, someone who finally understands me, that I need to trust the process, you know? And we trusted the process together.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Process was worth
the
trusting.
process was worth trusting. And then now I find myself in my roles as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, and now as a business owner. So not just so I'm no longer a hustler, but I'm a business owner who needs structures and who needs things in place. And there's certain things I can't trust the process about.
Yeah, there's got to be strategy.
There's got to be some sort of strategy, right? And now it's like trust the process. But it's actually, in as much as I'm saying it like now it's like a problem, it's not really a problem. It's still necessary for me because I am pretty rigid. So I think it's like it's a good balance. It's that balance. Like I think God's very intentional that's what you need. It irks me because sometimes I'm just like, it is Monday. Can we just have this strategy and not trust the process? But sometimes I just need to have a Monday of trusting the process. And I know alone I wouldn't be able to achieve that.
So I think maybe what I'm hearing is that maybe as you integrate, or the road to integration is really about fine tuning. It's not like disregarding or sort of canceling things, but
That's good.
it's how do we fine tune this so that it better fits in this new thing. I guess it's kind of like, it's really like moving into a home, like our home. We've been living in this house for 2 years.
Yeah.
And when we came into the house, it was already a nice house, but it wasn't our house.
Yeah.
And we've just slowly turned it into our house by making creative decisions.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the hardest part is how much do we dial it back? You know?
Because you can do too much and then
You can do
loss
too
of
much.
identity and
That's a real thing.
Okay,
Like
let's
loss of
talk about
identity.
it.
That's a real
Unpack
thing.
it.
It's like you don't realize how much of your identity is in the routines that you've built and the habits that you've built growing up.
Yeah. But there's two sides of this, right? And I want us to mention the two sides. So for me, I'm very connected to my identity.
Yes.
Even now. And I know, and I'm sorry to have cut you. I just want to give context. Whenever I go to like events and stuff, the common question is, how do you not lose yourself as a woman? But I've never had that problem of losing myself. Yes, I went through phases of children, but my biggest issue in life has never been losing my identity. Like I've always been firm in that. And I think that may be like a personality trait or just the way that I was raised, Ekaya. But you have a different a different experience.
Yeah, I think, with it also goes down to personality.
Yeah.
My personality, like you said, is a little bit more laid back. So I'm generally more welcoming to changes. The fire's starting to be so nice. I'm generally more welcoming to changes. And so sometimes I'm too welcoming,
Yeah.
where I become a passenger in my own life.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that becomes really tough, when you don't notice or you don't think certain things are important to you until you haven't had those things for a long time and you lose yourself. Like a simple thing would be like, again, like the other day I did an interview and I had to speak my language.
Yeah.
And I was just sharing with you like how I don't speak my native tongue.
Yeah.
Like I'll go 6 months not speaking it.
Yeah.
And there's certain things for me that I find are like the way I express myself, the person I become when speaking that language. Because
Yeah.
when you speak a language, it's like you switch it on and you become this character.
Yeah.
Like when I speak Zulu, like I try to imitate your dad, I'm like, but it's like, and so you lose that part of yourself.
Yeah.
Expressing yourself like that, those jokes that you make in that language, certain phrases that are only in that
In your
language.
language, yeah.
And I've always told you, like for me, like one of the most attractive things is when you make these subtle, like you'll have these phrases that your aunts say in Zulu, and they'll just come up in like random conversations when you're
Yeah.
speaking to someone who's from KZN.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, I love that part of you. Because that part of you was prominent when we started dating. It was
Yeah.
quite a big part, you
Yeah.
know? And so, so I feel like I struggled with identity because I didn't recognize how important little things like language and food and community is, how important that is.
Yeah.
Because like I moved to Pretoria and then I just adopted
became its
Praetorian
own
culture.
person,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it's like I just adopted that culture, and it's important to find a balance in bringing back the little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we gonna do that though?
How do we bring back the little
how
boy?
do we? Yeah, because and I think language is quite a big one right now.
It is.
Where for me, and you would have known, because I'm intentional about my kids speaking my language, Zulu, and in as much as I want my kids to speak Spulani, I don't speak Spulani. I don't speak it, but I understand it, so I can't teach the language.
Yeah.
And Ausmegi speaks Sutu. So now the kids are exposed to Sutu and they're exposed to Zulu, but there's no exposing of Spulana because you've adapted to now my language. And then there's obviously English. So we're obviously now in a world where our kids learn English first, which I have no problem with.
Yeah.
But now how do we ensure, in fact, me and you, how are we going to practically ensure that our kids speak our languages as fluently as they speak English?
I don't have the answer right now.
Because there's not a lot of Zulu shows. I've looked for them.
There isn't.
They're horrible.
But I think it goes down to like the grandparents and the family. And because honestly, like I don't even know. Like I don't know if it's going to happen. Like
It has to
I don't know
happen.
if I can. Like, because also, like, no one taught me. So maybe I'm also biased because,
Yeah.
like, I speak Tsonga pretty fluently now.
Yeah.
And no one taught me Tsonga. I just picked it up at school because
Yeah.
my friends were that.
Yeah.
So I think also community is important, the people
True.
you're around, and also maybe instilling a willingness to learn in the
Okay.
kids.
How do we do that?
I don't know. I think maybe we encourage it. Like we don't laugh at them when they make you like to laugh at Zani when he speaks Zulu. You're
Because
like,
sometimes his words are just like, what?
yeah, because his accent is
Imfana.
yeah, So so it's like I think encouraging a culture to learn
Yeah.
and exposing them to opportunities where they can then practice what they've learned.
Yeah.
So I mean I know schools have like Zulu classes and whatnot, but
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
it's
not
like
the
a
same.
white teacher
Yeah.
who's teaching Zulu, but just finding something authentic that I think they can grab culture. But I do think it's also, for me, it's a little bit disingenuous to try and enforce this like Spulana speaking home when we don't
We
speak
don't
that
even
at
speak
home.
it.
We don't
Because that
communicate
was
like
my
that.
next question, was like, we speak English together. And because
that's
when
the
we
thing.
started dating, you couldn't speak Zulu.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak your language. And we met at English, and that's what we speak predominantly. I mean, we do bring in mostly my language, but
Yeah.
Skulumi slow.
And that's the thing, and that's why I'm saying that I think the community for them, I think what they need to understand is, yes, this might be the language that you best express yourself, the language that you can use in the practical world.
Yeah.
But there's a certain pride in having like this other language.
I
that
think
you
it's
can speak.
important.
It's
I think
extremely
it's so
important.
important.
I think
it's our
also,
identity.
it is, and like I said, like there's certain things that you can only understand
Yeah.
through certain languages,
Yeah.
and that's why, like, we used to watch Generations,
Yeah.
and remember when they used to speak the different languages,
Yeah.
and we used to make fun of that, but that was so important.
It was.
because
Everyone
it
felt
meant
seen.
you felt seen, but you also get to understand a different language that you might not
Yeah.
have understood, because there were subtitles there,
Yeah.
and the people were having conversation as though they really understood each other.
But you know how different things are now? You know how we used to watch Generations?
Yeah.
I was watching on Saturday with the kids, we were watching The Masked Singer. So it's on SABC3. Now, we don't really watch
TV.
TV. If we're watching, it's Netflix or YouTube. And an advert came on, and the kids asked me to skip the advert. I know.
Oh, that's bad.
I know. And I'm like, I can't skip the advert. They're like, why? Here's the remote. And
You're
I'm
like, no, this is not that type of
it's not
advert.
that type of advert. But it just shows how much things have changed. What are some important 3 or more or less traditions or cultures that you think are important for every family?
So one is one that we don't yet practice,
Okay.
but a culture of eating at a table.
Okay.
That's a good culture.
Yeah.
Like whenever I've been to families that do that,
Yeah.
I'm always very impressed with one, the quality of the conversations that happen in such an environment
And so easily.
so easily.
Yeah.
Also the manners of kids who are brought up under that, like kids who, there's just like a level of like posture, like
Yeah.
it's giving queen vibes. you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great tradition to, even if it's maybe just like supper, but to make sure that one
least
of the
one
meals
meal, yeah.
that you eat during the day, you eat at a set table. There's that. 2, this is it's gonna be controversial to you.
Okay.
But like I think like a reading culture is great.
What do you mean it's controversial to me?
Because I'm not really the one who's enforcing that. Like that's your department.
Okay.
You've made it yours.
I haven't.
It's just you're good at it.
It's what I grew up with.
Yes.
Like, I grew up in a home where I was told if I don't know how to spell a word, go fetch the dictionary. And
Yeah.
my parents read, my mom read to me before bed. It's what I know.
Yeah.
Continue.
So I think a reading culture is great. It's like it especially for kids. It really it gives them an advantage in life because they know a little bit more than the average child, because
Yeah.
they read and they learn so much through the reading. And especially if books are both like literature and pictures.
Yeah.
Because also you want your child to have imagination.
Yeah.
You want your child to be able to read between the lines. And I think that's what our kids are so good, because sometimes they'll fake read a book.
Yeah, but I actually think, like, I was looking at Nuri, and I think she actually can read now. She just doesn't know that she can read, because we were reading this book, right? But we've read it over and over, and I guess that's how we learn how to
yeah.
read, because I don't know how you really learn how to read. And we're reading, and then there were 3 words, right? It was, I can't remember what the words were, but it was one under the other, right? For example, book, table, coffee. And we got to that page of the book, and it's not like the things were in order. but the pictures were there, and she went book, coffee, table, and in that right order. So I watched her look at the words, look at the picture, and
then
say them
put
in the
the-
order. And I said, "Oh, how did you know that?" And she obviously she just smiled. She's like, "I know the book," but I was just like, "Okay." So the reading is actually the reading muscle is starting to develop, just like that.
And that's the beauty of books. And then thirdly, again, this is a controversial one. This is important for me.
Okay.
This is mostly, but I also don't want to generalize.
Okay.
But I think for a boy child,
PlayStation.
PlayStation is so key.
Okay.
Here's why.
All right.
I think a lot of time, and I've had this conversation.
I've agreed to it though.
A lot of times, as parents, we don't learn to balance, and we don't teach our kids balance or integration. We teach our kids good or bad.
True.
And that's how I grew up. Like I remember I grew up like our parents would say PlayStation
It's gonna hurt the
is a
TV,
mushy
damage the TV.
Kanjani. Like, like it was designed to be used with a TV. And so, but like also then you teaching your kid to just not, to just be a liar, because that's not true. Because then you say it in your friends, and your friends are just like, they're
That's not
like,
true.
dude, come on, really, you believe that? But like, I think you have to be in touch, and I think I want my kids to grow up having options, but being able to have the character to say no.
Okay. I love that. You want the kids to have options, but have the character to say no.
I don't want to limit options because I'm trying to protect them. I want them to be able to make those decisions. I want to
hear you.
teach them to make those decisions, because I think it's important for someone to have just a broader understanding
Of life.
and everything that's happening. Like, it's having a conversation. That's why kids are so interesting,
Yeah.
because kids know so much
Yeah, but
about
they're
everything,
so
because they're
curious.
picking up information from everyone.
Yeah.
I literally did a cover of song on Instagram because my daughter likes it, and it's a piano song, and I should have known it. But
Yeah.
that just shows that they are so in touch with everything
Yeah.
and the world that they're just so much more interesting, and they have a better view of the world. And so so my three things are: set a table, read a book, and play PlayStation. And that's balance.
So the PlayStation, you said for boys.
Even for girls, but I'm just
Okay.
saying generally girls might not find it interesting, because
So
a lot
what-
of games are catered for boys.
So what would you replace the PlayStation with for girls?
Art is key. Like
is very
art is amazing. Like I
Yeah.
don't know why people don't do art.
Yeah.
Art is,
We have a coloring book. I have a coloring book.
and it's fun, right?
And it's a lot of fun.
Imagine if you did that like from age like 5.
I did. I just lost it along the way.
Imagine if you never stopped.
Yeah,
Like
that would have been better.
Even if you don't do it professionally,
Just
like
just
any type of art.
Yeah.
It could be painting. It could even be photography. I think photography is so beautiful. Like with me, there's pictures that I took in New York that I actually want to frame.
yeah.
Just because it's such a beautiful thing. When you see a picture, you remember something different.
Yeah, there's a memory about
And
it.
to have a hobby that is outside of, like, again, outside of reality,
outside of goals.
outside of goals, it's a beautiful thing to be able to do from time to time.
Yeah. I think that what we're not doing now as a culture, as a people, is allowing ourselves, and more especially our children, to be bored.
Yeah.
So we're used to, how many times did you as a child say, Mom, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored? And they tell you, go outside or go do this. And you eventually find yourself building a car with bricks or whatever, being creative. And how many times do you hear your children say, I'm bored? Seldom.
Yeah.
We seldom hear our kids say, I'm bored, because we want to fill up the whole day. Either we have a schedule, or there's TV, or if there's no TV, iPad. If there's no iPad, then it's this time with mommy, then it's this time with daddy, then we're going here. Like their whole lives,
That's true.
we are just filling it.
But
And
don't you think that we're projecting our own lives?
I think we're projecting our own lives, because we don't give ourselves time to be bored. As soon as you sit on the couch, as soon as we sit on the couch, we pick up a phone.
But not even in that. I think just generally as a culture, we've picked up like a really hardworking culture.
Yeah, like we just want to work.
We want to
like,
keep it busy. Like even you.
yeah,
Like if you had a free day,
yeah,
you would want to catch up on work.
yeah.
And so that's exactly
But
what
I'm
we do.
teaching myself now because I've come to it because we are literally a burnout culture and it's not sustainable and
So I
it's
think
not
that's
fun.
that's I think a big part of why we treat our children that way,
Like,
because
yeah.
we feel like we don't want to raise lazy children.
Exactly. But
And we
maybe
feel like if they're not doing anything,
Then
that
it's a
they're just
problem.
lazing around,
Yeah.
they're just out here just,
Or we're
just kicking
scared
off.
that they're going to say, I'm bored, as if there's something wrong with being bored. But I guess maybe the reason I picked it up is because I realized that I need to have time of boredom where I'm not doing anything. Like in the last week, we went away and I didn't pick up my book. I didn't open my laptop.
bored.
I didn't even pick up a book.
Were you bored though?
Huh? I wasn't.
So sick bored.
No. So boredom is different. I wasn't bored like, oh, shoot me. But it was like, I've got nothing to do and it's okay.
Okay.
And then before I know it, I'm looking at the tree and I'm finding something in a tree and I found a buffalo because I found that buffalo because
Actually,
I was
the buffalo
bored.
found you.
No, I found the buffalo because I was just sitting there being bored.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, I did absolutely nothing. And I was bored. And so even with the kids, they had finished doing something and I could see they were looking for the TV. Like they wanted to switch on the TV. And I was just like, I said, there's load shedding, right? Because I personally just didn't feel like hearing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And we left the TV off and we went to the attic and we got some stuff to build. And for a good solid 3 hours, I checked the time. Solid 3 hours, they played
Yeah.
and built.
They got into it.
They built a monster truck. They built a house. They built a tunnel. This is from one toy.
Yeah.
And that is just the power of being bored.
It is. But,
Anyway,
okay,
yeah.
so but now, how does that building the monster truck in the tunnel,
Yeah.
how does it affect their future?
How does it affect their future? It's not about that.
Good they built a
It doesn't. It's not about that. It's that thing of not
working
everything.
the imagination.
The imagination and rest, and not everything has to be attached to a goal.
Sure.
Not everything has to lead to something bigger. Not everything has to lead to their success or their progression. It's just being a person, being a
Sometimes
human
things
being.
just are.
Just are, things just are.
What are the three cultures,
Cultures or traditions
traditions that you think people should try?
every family should have. I think a spiritual culture, tradition.
Yes. I was going to say that, but then
You left it for me.
then
You left it for
no,
me.
I thought it goes without saying.
Not really. And by spiritual, I don't necessarily mean people have to do, like, we don't go to the same churches we went to when we were kids. Our beliefs have shifted. They're not exactly how they were when we were kids, but we are honing our own spiritual belief journey, through conversations. And our kids have to be involved in that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I was listening to an interview. They were interviewing someone who was jailed, a convict, right? And he molested children. And this guy was asked, which kids do you not target, right? When you're looking for kids or families to molest. And he listed quite a few, and he said one of the first and most important is that he seldom targets children who come from a spiritual home.
Okay.
Because from coming from a spiritual home, children are taught, it's linked to having a confidence and a belief in something bigger. Like these kids know, it's almost like they have an authority that they respect. So they're not insecure. So the guy was basically saying that he targets insecure children, right?
Sure.
Insecure children. And that can be unpacked. It's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But the gist of it is one of the family's important things he looks out for before targeting children is that if they come from a spiritual home, he knows not to target them. So for me, that's number one. And building a spiritual home is our kids need to know, what do we believe in? Who do we believe in? How do we how do we remember this belief of ours? How do we make sure that it's in our hearts, or it really comes alive for them? For us, we're a Christian family, and we recently started going back to church. So every Sunday,
No. Don't make it seem like we were not going to church.
we were online churching.
No, but we'd visit different churches.
And we'd visit other churches.
We
but
just
also
didn't
our
have-
kids,
we just didn't have a
no,
church
home.
home.
But also our kids were young. And for me, it just...
I was going to church. I don't know about you.
For me, it was just, and specifically, and also lockdown and all of that. For me, sitting in the mother's room was just, I didn't enjoy it. I was frustrated,
was
and
oppressive.
I'd just get so
Did you
angry.
find it oppressive?
No, not oppressive. I'd just get really angry, and there's no point of leaving your house to go get angry at other people. So, yeah, and then every night we pray with the kids. We just taught them like a Zulu prayer that I used to pray when I was a kid, that I still remember. The first prayer my mom ever taught me. The kids pray. And I make sure that even in my morning time, my devotion time, my children see me worship. My children see me lift up my hands. My children see me open the Bible. Zani the other day asked me, when can he get a Jesus book? Because it's my Jesus book.
Yeah.
He asked me for a Jesus book.
very cute.
So I think a spiritual practice, carve out one that works for your family, and that your kids know that's where you believe, what you believe in. And then I'll agree with your eating at the table tradition culture.
one.
It's a very good one. What we kind of are doing now is, because we don't have a dinner table yet, is I try, because we've got this round table in the living room, I try get them to take their placemats and set the table, and we sit. I mean, it's not table-y, but just options, because not all of us have a dinner table, but just to be together for one meal, switch off the TV, talk, ask some questions. What made you smile today? Who made you laugh today? It's incredible what conversation you get out of a kid from just asking who made you laugh today, right? And then the last one for me is have a family project. I think I'm realizing the importance of this, especially...
Is this now as a family with kids, or even just like a
even just
couple?
as a couple, because I think eventually the kids, everything starts with me and you. Eventually the kids fall in where they need to fall in, but we first need to establish it. And like I was just thinking, there was a time where the project was to buy a house, and that was the goal, and that was kept us excited, and it kept us on Pinterest and visiting these stores and then you get it, and then it's like, okay, so what's the next project? And this project doesn't have to be monetary, but I think it's important, maybe building a Lego. Like I've been saying that it would be nice to have a project like that. Or I saw Rachel and Sia, they built puzzles, like 100 or 1,000 piece puzzles. But it's a way they bond, where they know on that Saturday we're free, this is what we're working towards. Other couples go hiking. But I think it's important that we have something, an activity, some sort of project that keeps us learning, but also keeps us working together as a team. And it's like, okay, this is a bit of a challenge, and we need to put our heads together. And that way we cultivate that teamwork thing. And like I said, kids catch on. We'll find other projects where the kids catch on. But yeah, those are some important ones. And for me, another one,
You gave 3.
I want another one.
Okay.
Family.
The family culture is family.
No, the culture is kids must visit their grandparents without us. When we grew up, like I grew up visiting my granny and grandfather over the weekend, and my grandmother and I had this thing where in the morning she'd make me muesli and yogurt, and that's where I first tasted it. And I'd visit my aunt and uncle in Pretoria, and that's the first time I went to a mall because I was visiting them. And there's more memories that I picked up just by being exposed. And we live in guarded communities, and we're away from most of our family, and I don't think our kids get enough of being with other family members. And I think that's something we should really...
And our routine is relatively the same.
Yeah.
So for them, it's going to be the same. Like, they won't really be exposed to different
Yeah.
if we don't do that. They won't be exposed to attending, for the sake of this conversation, but to attend a funeral. Like, when are our kids going to attend a funeral? Yeah, because our circles are so small. No one's
No
really
one's dying.
dying like that. But when they go to the grandparents, I mean, I know my parents.
Your parents had a funeral every weekend.
Every 3 weeks,
And
it's something going on.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's like some of those things. It's you learn.
Yeah.
You learn to eat that cabbage. You know that special cabbage.
Yeah.
Remember the first time? I don't know if your mom took Nuri to like a church conference or something.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about the chicken and the way it was cooked and the way she described it.
Yeah.
I could understand exactly
How did she describe
what she
it?
meant. She was like, "Daddy, the chicken was like, it was yummy, but it was like oily. It was it's like, yeah,
Okay,
I know,
fried chicken.
I know that fried chicken. Fried chicken slaps, girl.
Yeah,
Don't play
yeah,
with that
yeah.
creamy fried chicken. But yeah, it's nice. They get to experience life through a different lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some more fun things, more fun traditions. We have a coffee tradition in our home.
Yes.
Saturdays, we wake up. When I'm a little tired, Daddy takes the kids. They go to buy coffee and a croissant, and the kids get little baby chinos.
Yes.
And that is a fun tradition that we have.
It's a fun tradition. It's very cool. I like a coffee tradition.
Yeah.
I know financial people will tell us it's not a good idea.
Yeah. You know, I drink coffee because of you, right?
Really?
Yeah.
No, but now you requested more than me.
But I got into coffee because of you. I realized how important coffee is to you, and I got into coffee, and now I actually really like it.
You
And now,
get it.
And whenever we travel, our first thing is where we getting coffee.
But that's the thing about coffee, is that it's about the community. It's about
Yeah.
going to the coffee shop and knowing the barista.
Yeah.
It's about knowing the people that come and have coffee every day.
Yeah.
That's
like the
what
people
it is.
I know, I'm gonna see.
Because
Yeah.
I have like 2 coffee machines at the
Yeah.
house, so I really can make that same coffee. But I go out and I buy it because I want to interact with those people,
Yeah.
you know, and I wanna. It's part of my routine.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful part of my life.
Any other fun tradition you have,
Fun tradition,
or you want to do more of?
yeah. So me and my kids, we sing my songs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
And-
like I feel like that's one thing that's helping me teach them a different language.
yeah, true.
Because they know every lyric to all of my songs,
Yeah.
and it's their favorite
We were
songs.
playing in the car, and I asked Nuri what song because she's got a fake phone, and I say, can you please play me the song? Do, 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 do. And she's like, I only have Married at the Beach. I'm
No,
like,
she already
okay,
knows.
daddy's girl.
She already knows which team she plays for.
Yeah,
So yeah, like it's great, man. I'm glad that she's my biggest supporter. She's
Yeah.
my biggest fan. Zani is my biggest fan. He dances with me.
He wants to be a DJ.
We were watching a mix, and he loved the idea. I think he likes the attention. Like,
You
he
think
couldn't-
so?
He couldn't believe how many people were there.
I don't think
And
so.
it was like, why are all these people dancing? I'm like, no, because the DJ is playing music. He's like, I want to be a DJ.
okay, so
yeah,
he's gonna be a DJ.
yeah. So I think exposing them is exposing them to our careers.
Yeah.
Just because I also believe in second generation. Like second generation is always better.
Yeah,
than
they're gonna
first.
do better, way better.
So if you are in an industry where you can expose your kids to what you do,
You
and it
should.
can give them some sort of an advantage,
You should.
I don't see why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, like I think, already Nuri's like a gem on screen. She's fantastic.
Yeah, like she lights up. She becomes a different person.
She enjoys
catches her script
shooting,
like no
she
one's.
enjoys shooting content.
Yeah.
Like she like if we want her to do something, we'll be like, we're gonna shoot content. And she's
Like,
like, okay. So yeah, but I don't even know what the question was.
Just fun
Fun
traditions.
things, but that's fun for us. For
Yeah.
us, it's fun that we get to live our lives with our kids.
Yeah.
and they get to see us doing our jobs.
Yeah.
and living in our careers. And then also get to see us, sort of as daddy, but also knowing that daddy is this and
Yeah.
mommy is this, and like it's really fun.
Yeah. I think one last thing that I just wanted to add that I just remembered when we went to marriage seminar that has stuck through me is it was more about the marriage, but I think even as a family, it's important to treat the family or the marriage like a business.
Okay.
In that,
Good.
what is the vision
deeper, Mama.
statement? What is the vision for the family? And our pastor made an example by saying that, for example, you need to know the value of what you're working for, right?
Okay.
So when you pay for a business class ticket or when you pay for an economy ticket, when you go to economy, your options are chicken or
Limited.
beef, limited, but you know the price. And when you go to the business class, you've got the a la carte menu, but you also know the price
Mm-hmm.
and what it took to pay for that. So you value it more.
Sure.
So even within our marriages or within our family, I think when we identify the vision, the goal, or what we're called for, whenever we have challenges, it's like, okay, this is the cost to what we're working towards.
Sure.
But when there's no vision, it
So good.
feels like, ah, man, is this even worth it? Like you find yourself asking, is it even worth it? I could be doing something else. I could be somewhere else. I could just let this whole thing go. But when we have the vision, we know the goal, and the goal's flexible. It's not like you just have one thing and that's it. But we have a common vision as a family that we sat down and discussed, so that when all the challenges come, which they will come, we understand that this is the cost for this.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's a beautiful,
Very good.
it's also a nice way to start the coming with the tradition, because we need to sit down and talk about these things. It's nice and all to just have them
But
floating.
maybe we don't need to sit down. Sometimes maybe we just need to take a walk and talk about these things.
I love walks with all my
Yeah.
heart.
I was actually listening to a podcast, and this guy was saying that a conversation while walking is different to a conversation while sitting across from someone.
We know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was actually giving like the psychological
Okay.
effects of that. For
Yeah.
instance, if you're sitting across someone, you're already facing opposing directions.
Already tense.
When you're walking with someone, it's like you guys are walking into the same direction. So
Sure.
already, like, just on a psychological level,
Yeah.
you feel like you're working together.
You've already conquered that part.
So that's just, that's, guys, I do a lot of personal work.
So let's take more walks then.
Take more walks, do more things where you just like are outside in nature.
Yeah, and
That's
it's fun.
it.
It's
That's
good
us.
sitting with you. I know people missed you a lot, but we respect that you're also we in different seasons, and we get that.
My life is just busy, man.
We're in
too
different
busy.
seasons, and when it's time, it's time. When it's not, and we respect that.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's been
Good to have you.
Good to be here. Even though I'm always here, but good to be on
good to
this
be on
side.
the other side. Yeah. And don't forget that you can now get tennis biscuits as tennis rusks as well. I'm a huge rusk lover, and the taste is phenomenal. So imagine a tennis biscuit, but in a rusk and dipped in coffee or in your tea. And you can find them at major retail stores. And yeah, thank you so much for watching today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'd like to hear your thoughts. What did you think about some of our conversations, the family traditions? What family traditions do you think are important to instill and to uphold? And we actually didn't come back to how we started the conversation of the integrating, but
I think
we kind of settled it. Ne?
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think we
you
settled
bring
it.
you
Yeah,
bring you,
exactly,
and then
and we
we
fine-tune it.
fine tune it. Bye.
All right. Ciao.